What's going on, real ones? BCHQ, and I'm back with another football one today. So I wanted to do best players from each team for this season. So I'll do it in order of the table I did. So Liverpool, they got a talented team, all positions in my opinion. It could have gone to so many players, but I'm going to give it to Mane. But obviously you could have Van Dijk, you could have Robertson, or do you know what I mean? There's a lot of players there that I would give it to Mane. I thought he was brilliant last year, and he kind of took the mantle for getting the important goals for them. Like Salah did a while back. Mane kind of took that, like I said, that mantle to do that. So I'd give Mane for Liverpool. Man City, again, talented squad. Underachieved big time last year. For me, though, it's easy for City for their best player, and that's Kevin De Bruyne. I've never, apart from maybe Beckham, some of the passes he plays, but even against Beckham, like, he does certain things that I never even see Beckham do. It's almost like watching a video game when I watch De Bruyne, some of the passes he plays as well. Like, he's one of my favourite players to watch just because he does things that I've never seen before. So De Bruyne for Man City for me. Chelsea, this is an interesting one. I like quite a few Chelsea players, but even though he hasn't played yet, I'm going to give it to Ziyech. He's very underrated to me. I remember watching him for Ajax quite a lot. Even Morocco I think it was the World Cup. I really like him. He's one of my favourite players to watch. Obviously, they got Werner. That Havertz, I think, as well. But I haven't really seen too much of Havertz yet, so I have to wait and see what he's about. But for me, Ziyech is Chelsea's best player. Manchester United, my team. For me, it's quite easy again. It's Bruno Fernandes. What he did last year when he came in, like, not many players are going to do that ever. So, for me, it's quite an easy one. Bruno Fernandes for me. I think Martial is underappreciated, but for me, Bruno Fernandes. Tottenham, two players for me, and that is Son and Kane. I wanted to give it to Son, but if you take away Kane, do you know what I mean? You're taking away 80 to 90% of their goals. I know Son chips in with a few, but Kane, like, it's not the same if you take him out of that team. Arsenal, again, very easy for me. Aubameyang, I think he's worlds apart from the rest of the team. He could be easily playing for City or Liverpool. Like, he's that good. Aubameyang. Wolves, I would go with Ruben Neves. I think Traore is doing very well at the moment. I like Jota as well. And yeah, they got a talented squad. But for me, Neves is kind of a level above. Everton, I'm a big fan of Sigurdsson. Obviously, he played for Reading before, so I've got kind of a bias towards him. But I do think he's talented. But for me, Richarlison. But obviously they've just signed James Rodriguez. I think he potentially could be, but I have to wait and see how he does. But for me, Richarlison, I think he's definitely give them a bit more than they had before he came in, and I think he can only get better as well. And he's only young, I think. So Leicester, it's easy to go with Vardy, but I'm not going with Vardy. I'm going with Pereira at right back. Remember watching him for Porto over the years, and I think he's very underappreciated. Kind of goes under the radar, doesn't get the headlines because he's like a defender. But for me, he could play in a better team than Leicester, and that's no disrespect to them. I just think he's that good. So the obvious choice would be Vardy or even Maddison. I do like Maddison, but for me, Pereira. Southampton, I do like Ward-Prowse, but for me, it's got to be Danny Ings. Might be a bit too quick with this one. Like, he's obviously had a good finish to the end of last season, and I think he can continue that next year. This season coming. So I'm gonna give it to Ings, but I could see why people would say Prowse. West Ham, easy for me. Mikel Antonio, like I said in the predictions for the table, that he single-handedly wins them games. So for me, easy one, Antonio for West Ham. Brighton, I do like Trossard, but I would give it to Dunk, but Trossard for me I do like, and I think Maupay as well is okay, but Dunk for me for Brighton. Newcastle, yeah, I'd give it to Dubravka. I think Wilson and Fraser is going to be interesting to see how they do, but Dubravka in goal, I think he could play a bigger team as well. Like he saves them a lot, so no pun intended. Dubravka for me. Aston Villa, Grealish, and I think Grealish is getting a little bit overrated and a little bit too much hype behind him. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as people saying he is. But I do think he's by far Villa's best player, so Grealish for me. Burnley, I think Rodriguez is good, but he gets a lot of injuries. Pope, still a lot to see from him, but he's doing well for himself. But I'm going to give it to Ashley Barnes up front. I think he goes underrated, and he's a good finisher for me, and he gets him out of trouble quite a lot. So Ashley Barnes for me. Palace, this is a bit of a controversial one, because most people is Zaha. I've never really rated Zaha, to be honest. Controversial, as I said, but I've never really rated him. And for me, it's quite an easy one, and it's Townsend. I think RU as well, he's doing good. And Van Aanholt at left back, I think, as I said, he's a bit sporadic and inconsistent, but I think he's pretty good. But for me, it's Andros Townsend. I think he's good with the set pieces, he can score a banger. And yeah, I think he doesn't get the appreciation that he should for me. So Townsend. Leeds, I don't know enough about, I'm going to be honest. So the only one I know a little bit is Phillips, and that was just from seeing him in England. So Phillips for Leeds, but that's just because I don't have a lot of knowledge on them. Sheffield United, Lundstrom. I had him in my fantasy team quite a lot last year, and he got me some points. So quite a few points for Sheffield. So Lundstrom for me for Sheffield. Fulham. I don't know if he's still there, but I know that Tom Cairney was pretty talented, and Sessegnon gets quite a lot of hype. But for me, Mitrovic, I think he is Premier League level striker. So Mitrovic for me. And West Brom. Now, I like Hal Robson-Kanu. He was a former Reading player. I do like him. And I was tempted to give it to him, but I know about this Pereira guy. I've seen him a little bit. And I know that he's a lot younger, and he's kind of their playmaker and their go-to guy for creation and setting people up. So I'm going to give it to Pereira, but I was tempted to give it to Kanu just because I know more about him, and obviously I used to like him a lot at Reading. So that's it, guys. That's my best players from each team for this season. Let me know yours in the comments, and I'll catch you soon. You don't want to fuck with the real ones.